It all started on what I thought would be just another quiet Saturday morning. I was grabbing my coffee, getting ready to do some work in the backyard, when I noticed two men in uniforms poking around near my tool shed. At first glance, they looked official: badges, clipboards, even radios. They claimed they were from the HOA, doing a property inspection, but something didn't feel right. For starters, our HOA doesn't do surprise inspections, especially not ones that involve shouting orders and snapping padlocks. So I did what anyone would do. I started filming. That's when things escalated fast. One of them demanded I stop recording. The other started yanking on the shed door. Before I could process what was happening, they literally pulled the entire structure forward, crushing half my tools and snapping the frame like it was cardboard. I kept filming through the whole thing, heart pounding, not knowing if I was being scammed or if this was some bizarre mix-up. Turns out, these guys weren't even with the HOA, and once I showed the footage to the police, everything changed. Who were they really? What were they after? And why my shed? I never thought a simple backyard structure would get me tangled in a story like this, but trust me, it's only just getting started. After the shed was flattened and the fake HOA guys took off in their white pickup, no plates, by the way, I stood there in shock, still recording, trying to make sense of it. My backyard looked like a storm hit it. Tools scattered, lumber splintered, and my lawn torn up where their truck had backed in. I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't random. I mean, who goes to that much trouble just to wreck a tool shed? And why pretend to be with the homeowners association? Later that day, I started asking around the neighborhood. No one had seen them before. A few neighbors told me they'd gotten weird notes on their doors lately. No logos, just typed papers about unauthorized structures. Nothing official, but enough to spook people. Some even mentioned they thought the HOA was cracking down hard, but apparently the real HOA board had no clue this was happening. Something felt off, like someone was using the name of the HOA to intimidate homeowners. I replayed the video a dozen times that night, trying to catch a license plate or a logo, anything. But it was like these guys planned it out, made sure to leave nothing behind but damage. I had no idea yet just how deep this was going to go, or what I'd uncover next. The next morning, I went straight to the local police station with my footage. The officer at the front desk seemed interested until I mentioned it involved the HOA. Then his tone shifted. He said they'd look into it, but I got the feeling they thought it was just some neighbor dispute. I left frustrated, but not defeated. I knew what I saw, and I knew these guys weren't just bored pranksters. Something bigger was going on. That same week, I got a letter in the mail. No return address, no stamp, just placed directly in my mailbox. Inside was a single page. Take down all unapproved structures or face further action. No signature, no contact number. My tool shed was already gone, so what exactly was this warning about? I started wondering if other people in the neighborhood had gotten the same thing. That's when I connected with Lisa, a neighbor down the block. She said two men had come by her house too, asked about a garden trellis she'd put up. When she refused to let them in her backyard, they just walked off without another word. The more people I talked to, the clearer it became. This wasn't isolated. Several homes had been approached, all with some excuse about violations or structure compliance. And none of it came from our actual HOA. Someone was impersonating authority, targeting us. But why? And who stood to gain from it? As the days passed, the tension in the neighborhood grew thick. More people were coming forward, backyard cameras catching grainy images of the same two men walking around, always at odd hours, always pretending to be someone they weren't. They weren't just destroying property, they were scaring people into silence. One neighbor, Mr. Dawson, an older guy who'd lived here for decades, said he saw one of the men sneaking around his yard at night, shining a flashlight through his shed windows. But by the time he grabbed his phone, they were gone. I started compiling everything: video clips, statements from neighbors, copies of the strange letters, and created a timeline. That's when a disturbing pattern began to show. Every single house targeted had recently refused to sign a new set of property improvement agreements that someone had been pushing around. They weren't official HOA documents, but they looked close enough to fool most people. A few who had signed them said they were pressured into donating money to avoid inspections. Then, out of nowhere, I got a call, a private number. The voice on the other end was deep, calm, too calm. He said, "You've been asking too many questions. Stop filming, or you'll lose more than a shed." That was the moment I realized this wasn't just some scam. It was something way bigger and a lot darker. That phone call shook me, but it also confirmed something I'd been suspecting. Whoever was behind this wasn't just pretending to be with the HOA. They were organized, bold, and clearly watching me. I doubled down. I installed extra cameras, backed up all my footage, and shared copies with a few trusted neighbors. If anything happened to me, I wanted proof to live on. But then came the twist I didn't see coming. While reviewing older footage from one of my side yard cameras, ones I hadn't even checked since last summer, I spotted something strange. Months ago, long before the shed incident, the same white pickup truck had driven by slowly, multiple times at night. It wasn't random. These guys had been scoping out properties for a while. That told me this operation was planned, long-term, calculated. Then Lisa called, her voice panicked. She said someone had broken into her backyard the night before and spray-painted a giant red X on her garden fence, the same fence she'd argued about with the fake HOA guys. We compared notes and realized that 3 other homes had similar markings in the last week. It wasn't vandalism, it was a mark, a warning, maybe even a target list. That's when it really hit. This wasn't just about my shed anymore. It looked like our entire neighborhood was being hunted, house by house. With the red X's showing up and the warning calls still fresh in my mind, I knew we were out of time. I pulled together a small group of neighbors, Lisa, Mr. Dawson, and a couple others, and we decided to take shifts watching the streets at night. No one was sleeping well anyway, not with those men still out there. We coordinated using a group chat, set up extra lights, and made sure everyone had their cameras recording non-stop. Then, just a few nights later, around 2:30 a.m., it happened. The white truck rolled in again, same make, same missing plates, slowly creeping past the houses marked with red. This time, we were ready. From 3 angles, we caught them on video stepping out in full fake uniform, flashlights in hand, heading straight for Lisa's backyard. But before they could touch the fence, motion lights blasted on, and 3 of us stepped out with cameras, phones dialing the police in real time. The men froze, and one even tried to run. But what they didn't expect was Mr. Dawson waiting at the corner with a drone, capturing everything from above. The cops actually showed up fast this time, probably because of the video evidence we'd already posted online earlier that day. Turns out, these guys weren't rogue neighbors or pranksters. They were part of a shady contracting group trying to push out homeowners to buy properties cheap for a redevelopment scam. And the twist? One of them was a former board member of our own HOA, kicked out months ago for ethics violations. He'd been planning this for nearly a year. They were arrested, and the neighborhood could finally breathe. But here's the part I didn't expect. After the arrest, someone left another note in my mailbox. No threats this time. Just 4 words, handwritten, "This isn't over yet." After that final note showed up, I stayed on edge for a while, but nothing more ever came of it. The police said it might have been from someone else tied to the group, trying to stir up fear, or just a leftover scare tactic. Either way, I held onto it as a reminder of how far things had gone, and how important it was that we stood up to them. The neighborhood pulled together in a way I'd never seen before. People who barely talked started sharing information, comparing footage, and looking out for each other. Lisa finally rebuilt her garden fence, and I started replacing my tool shed, this time with the help of 3 neighbors who showed up with lumber and coffee. The HOA held an emergency meeting, cleaned house, and put stricter protocols in place for anything involving property inspections. No more mystery letters, No more fake enforcement. Lisa finally rebuilt her garden fence, and I started replacing my tool shed, this time with the help of 3 neighbors who showed up with lumber and coffee. The HOA held an emergency meeting, cleaned house, and put stricter protocols in place for anything involving property inspections. No more mystery letters, no more fake enforcement. What I took away from all this is simple: record everything, ask questions, and trust your gut when something doesn't feel right. If I hadn't filmed that day, this whole thing might have just faded into rumor. Instead, we exposed a scam, protected our homes, and reminded people that community matters more than fear. Thanks for watching, and stay alert out there.